Hello and welcome to this channel. Today we are going to make this.
I thought I would give you an idea for a pretty Valentine's card, and at the same time, we can learn a little bit about light and shadow in watercolor. But let's get started with the painting. To begin with, I sketch in the cup, and you can pick any cup you like. You can make this completely your own painting. And that's the good thing about this video, I think, that you can make it your own. And I'm just drawing in the bottom as well, so it will help me get the proportions right on the cup. And then I draw in the handle. If you think this is too difficult, you can always make a cup without a handle. I've seen a lot of those cups lately, so. And I'm using my knit rubber to just correct a little bit of the drawing. And here you see me, I made a shadow next to the cup on the left side because the light source comes from the right side. And then I begin to mix in some paint spray and some indigo to get a really dark color. And I paint in the shadow to begin with. I also paint in the shadow on the cup to begin with, but we'll just take this step by step. And it's okay if the shadow gets really, really dark, and it's also good to remember that watercolor dries up lighter than when it's wet. So that's nice to use, so just make it really, really dark. And now I'm mixing up a lighter mix of the paint spray and indigo and begin to draw in the handle. And I begin with the darkest color on the inside of the handle because this is where the shadow is. Then I rinse my brush, and then I use the clean brush to drag out the color to the rest of the handle. And now it won't be as dark as where the shadow is, but I just drag it out, and I rinse my brush a couple of times and go again on the paper to make it lighter and lighter. And this is the method we will also use when we put in the shadow on the cup itself. And now I can add in a little more color because now everything is wet, and I do it where the shadow is, and then the paint can flow out into where the wet areas are. So it's a nice way to do that. And I'm just enhancing the dark color now on the left side of the cup because it was turning out a little bit lighter than what I preferred. So now everything needs to dry completely before we continue. We don't want the colors to run together. And I begin to paint the cup shadow, or the shadow on the cup. And again, I use quite a dark color, and I just paint that in to begin with, and then I rinse my brush, and then I drag out the color. As you can see here with circle motions, I'm sort of dragging out the color to make the shadow. We need the shadow to be lighter and lighter, and when we hit until we hit where the light hits the cup. I hope you know what I'm talking about. Um, and this is a method you can use on every time you need to paint in shadow areas on your painting. And I just remembered I forgot to make an edge around the cup, so I'm just drawing that in with my pencil. Nice and easy. And now I'm mixing up some sepia because I want there to be some coffee in the cup. And if you notice the quote to begin with, you'll know why. And then I just begin to paint that. But I actually forgot to put in the shadow area first, and this will be on the opposite side, on the inside of the cup, because here there's no light hitting. But I remembered, certainly, you'll see in a minute. Oops, I forgot the shadow. So I just go in with the shadow color, the opposite side, and paint that in. And then where the two colors hit together, I allow them to mix a little bit. So usually I would have made the shadow color first, but it's okay. And here you see me just mixing those two together. And while this is drying, I'm mixing up a red color, and you can choose any red color you like, or if you prefer to paint flowers, but I want to decorate the cup with red hearts. And it could also look nice with a more pinkish color, so that's up to you. Or you can make purple hearts, what you prefer. Maybe you have a favorite color and you can use that. So, but since this is a Valentine's Day card example, or suggestion, then I'm making the hearts red. And I just begin to paint them all over the cup, one by one. I'm just doing this freehand, because I'm okay with that. If you prefer, you can draw it in with a pencil first. And I also paint on top of the shadow area. And because watercolor is transparent, the hearts automatically looks like they're in this shadow. So that's the good thing about watercolor. And I felt I needed a little bit of green branches or green leaves, so I've just mixed up a bit of a darker green color, and I'm just painting in some little leaves. And again, if you prefer another type of leaf or something like that, you can just completely decorate the cup as you like. So that's what I like about these tutorials, that you can make it your own, and make your own version. Just checking if this area is dry, and it is, so I just enhanced the coffee color with the sepia, and I let it go all the way on top of the shadow I painted before. And then I'm painting in some hearts at top of the cup, just to make this an interesting painting. I think the cup itself is very decorative, so yeah. You can also use this idea with light and shadow, to paint other kitchenware, if you like bowls and so on. Um, it's a good idea, and it's nice to learn a little bit about light and shadow, and where the light hits and where the shadow areas are, and how you can work with it in watercolor. Now I'm mixing up a little bit of a pinkish color, just to have a little bit of variation, and I just make some little tiny hearts, as you can see here. This painting is what I would call a beginner's painting. It's quite easy. If you're not a good drawer and you've got a little problem with drawing a cup, you can just transfer from a magazine or something like that. Use some transfer paper, and then you have a cup. So it doesn't have to be difficult. And here I'm working a little bit on the edge of the cup. I'm going in with a darker color. And again, I'm dragging out the color a little bit, with a clean brush, damp brush. Yeah. And just take your time with it. It doesn't have to be over in a quick, in a hurry, or what you say. So just take your time with it and enjoy the process, and perhaps make a more than one, and just to see how that would look. I felt I needed a little bit of color, coffee color, in the cup, so I just mixed up a little bit of orange, so it got a little bit of glow. And that is called glazing, if you use another color on top of a different color. And here I'm writing in the quote, "Love you more with every sip." I think it was such a cute quote. And if you're very good at calligraphy or something like that, you can make it totally different than what I'm doing. Just make it your own, but I would encourage you to use your own handwriting, because that makes it your personal painting. Yeah, and I'm painting in the letters with a pointy brush, size 1 or something like that, using a mix of the indigo and the Payne's gray. And then I just felt that it needed a little something, so I paint in some hearts down here as well. And yeah, soon this video will be finished, so I really hope you enjoyed it and that you can use this for something in your own painting practice. And now I'm just looking a little bit on the painting, seeing if there's something needed. And I just felt like I wanted to enhance the hearts a little bit, make them a little bit darker. So I just put another layer of paint on. And that was it for this tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you again soon. Be well. Bye.